So welcome to this next project, and in this project we're gonna actually build an Hangman game. I'm pretty sure everybody actually knows the Hangman game. It's a pretty simple game, right? We just have a word and we have to guess this word, and we have multiple lives. For example, I have now 7 lives in this app, and for every wrong guessed word, my man will be hanged, and if he's hanged completely, then I lost the match. So this is a word and I have to guess this word, and I don't really know what the word is, so let me just have a random guess. Maybe F. Okay, it's wrong. D. It's wrong again. A maybe. Oh, perfect. There you go. A. I think I know the word. Big. I think I know this. So M. There you go. Perfect. And as you saw, I also have some sound effects in this app, right? So for every correct guess, I have a correct guess sound effect, and if I have something wrong, I have a wrong sound effect. There you go. And also my points will decrease, and also my lives will decrease. But if these sounds actually disturb me, I can just disable the sound functionality on clicking here, and now I won't have these sounds anymore. There you go, minus 10 points. And I think, yeah, I know this word, so it's maths. I think M-A-T. I just have a wrong guess, minus 10 points. Now I have 2 lives left, but let's actually win this. So maths. Let's actually also turn on the sound effects, and yeah, this should be maths. There you go. Hooray, you won your point 0 for now. And yeah, let's actually play this again and now have a wrong guess. Oh, I'll just say G. I'll just have a wrong guess intentionally so that I can show you guys. There you go, I lost, and my points are minus 30. So for every correct guess, I'll have plus 5 points, and for every wrong guess, I have minus 5 points. And now if I click on play again, there you go, I can play this game again, and these words are always randomized. So yeah, that's it for introduction. It's just a basic app, and I'm just really excited to build this project with you guys. Let me just see you in the coding tutorials. So as always, I created a new Flutter project named Hangman, and let's actually go to public.yaml and get some configuration done. So first of all, the packages we're gonna get is only one package. The package name is audio players. So with this package, we're gonna play the audio or the game effects, like the game sound. And then we're gonna go to the assets. And first of all, we're gonna configure our images. So we're gonna say, just take the images folder and take all the images in there. So the images folder I just opened, these are just the Hangman games. And of course, I put this in the resources folder. You can just download these images if you want, or you can just use your images. And also I have another folder named sounds, so you should just take this sounds folder and take all the sounds from there. Again, I'll just put these sounds also in the resources folder. You can just download these. So there you go, correct.mp3, lost.mp3, and so on. And then at last, we're going to configure our fonts. So I think till now I just use this Google Fonts package, right? But in that package, we don't have this retro theme or this retro font. So I downloaded a retro gaming.ttf file. So with this font, we kind of had a retro theme font. Again, I just put this in the resources folder, and you can also download this file. So after getting everything done, let's go to main.dart and do some cleanup. So I'm gonna just delete everything from here, and I'll just close this material app, and I'm gonna give a home. But before giving home, let's actually say debug show check mode banner is going to be false. I don't want the debug banner to be there. And also I'll say home is going to be a game screen. So I'm going to create a stateful widget named game screen. Let's create a new file named game screen. In this file, let's import Flutter. Material.dart, let's create a stateful widget with the STFL keyword. Game screen, let's import this file here, main.dart. Now let me just save everything, and I should have a black container. And there you go, I have a black container. And let's go to game screen.dart and build the UI first. So let's first of all just build out the UI before we go on to the logic stuff and the sound stuff. So I'll return a scaffold so that I can give an app bar. I'll say return scaffold. Let me just save everything, and I'll have a white screen. But as I said, I want the retro feel, right? So I'll just use a black color to kind of have the design which I showed in the introduction video. So I'll say background color is going to be colors.black45. It's kind of like a black, but with an opacity of 45%. It doesn't make so much of difference with normal black actually. And let's also give an app bar. So I'm going to say app bar is going to be an app bar. App bar, there you go, perfect. So in the app bar, we'll have one title named Hangman, and also we'll have an icon which provides the volume. So we'll have a volume on button and also a volume off button. But first of all, let's create a title. So I'll say background color of this app bar, but I'll just give it later on. So I'll say title is going to be a text, and the text is going to be just a header of this game, so Hangman. And let's give a style. So I'll say style is text style and so on, right? But I'll just create a new function so that I just call it function whenever I want, so that I don't have to write so much of code. So I create a new file named utils.dart where I'll have all my utils functions or variables. I'll just import Flutter also here. So in here I create a new function which returns text style. So the text style retro style. So my function name is retro style. It takes in a double size, and also as optional parameters takes in color and font weight. And it returns a text style. So as a text style, and we'll also have to give it font family. So font family is, as I said, retro gaming, right? So let's go to PubSpec and check it out. In PubSpec we configured the family as retro gaming, so I'll just use this keyword, put it also down here, so retro gaming. And we'll have a color. So color depends on whichever parameter we gave, and also the size, it depends on the parameter which we passed into this function. So I'll just use the size parameter. And then also we'll have a font weight. So font weight again this fw variable, actually the parameter. I'm going to take the function and just call this here whenever I want to use a style. So I have to import this function, of course. And let's give a font size. So font size is 30 pixels, should be good. And color is color.white to have a contrast to the black color background color. And then we'll also have a font weight. So I'll say font weight.w700. Now when I save everything, you will see a background color for the whole scaffold, and then a text named Hangman. So there you go, we have a retro header Hangman. But again the problem is we don't want this blue color app bar, right? So I will just say in the app bar itself, I'll just give a background color, just the same background color. Background color is colors.black 45. There you go, Hangman. And let's actually center this title. So I'll just say center title property, it should be true. So the title should be centered in the app bar. There you go. The right side, I wanted the volume button, so we can use the actions property in the app bar. I can say actions, it takes in, like, we can pass in how many buttons we want, but we'll just have one button. So I'll use the icon button widget because this is kind of like an icon button. Whenever you can also press on this button, then it changes to mute or unmute. And the icon is gonna be an icons.volume up sharp. There you go. But later on we'll also change it depending on the sound boolean variable, so it can also be muted, but I'll just leave this for now like this. Later on we'll implement the logic stuff. I kind of like to do it like this, so I just build out the UI first and then implement the logic. And let's also give a color for this button. So I'll say color, it's going to be colors.purple accent, not kind of purple but kind of like a light purple, like an accent, the purple accent color. And let's also give an icon size. So I'll say icon size is going to be, I don't know, maybe 40 pixels should be good. Yeah, 40 pixels. Let's save everything. And after creating the app bar, now we can create the actual body for this whole screen. So I'll say body is a single child scroll view because of course my app, like my page, should be scrollable whenever we have multiple devices. Let's say I have a smaller device than this, then the UI could be like, the UI could be scrollable. That's why we have to give this single child scroll view. And then I have a child for this, and a child is going to be a container because then I can align everything in the center. So let me just give an alignment for this container, alignment of center. And of course the actual child's container is going to be a column because I'll have elements beneath each other.
children. So the first child is going to be the header, like not header, like it's kind of like the points button or points container. So I'm going to create a new container which is going to show us the points in a blue color. So container margin, so I'll have a margin from the top, so I'll say edge insets dot only. From the top I have 20 pixels of margin, and I also have an alignment, so I'll say alignment dot center, so everything should be aligned in the center. And let's give a width, so let's give a responsive width. I don't want to hard code the width, so I'll use the media query. So I'll say media query dot of context, take the whole width but divide it by 3.5, and then the height of this whole container is going to be 30 pixels. And let's give the actual child as container, so I'll say child is going to be a text widget, and let's say 12 points for now, but later on we'll change it accordingly. Like we'll have the actual variable for these points, and then I'll have a style for this whole text. So I can again use my retro style function. I can just take this and call this over here, but this time it should have a black color. And also the font size should be quite less, it should be 15 pixels. 15 pixels should be quite good, and this text should be in the center, so I'll just wrap this into the center widget. Let me just format everything, and we should have that button. Okay, we don't have any button. Yeah, I think I know the problem, because this text itself is black and the container itself is black. We didn't give any color for this container, I just forgot it. So decoration is going to be a box decoration, and I'm going to say color is going to be a colors dot light blue accent. Now this should work. I'll just give a light blue of color, and there you go. I have a light blue container with the 12 points text in it. Okay, after creating this container, so after creating the points board, now we'll have the actual image. Look, depending on the status, for now we'll just hard code the Hangman image, but later on we will do it dynamically. For example, if he has 2 lives, then we'll show the second Hangman and so on, because in my images folder I have 7 Hangman pictures. This is Hangman 0, then he'll be hanged more, and at last he'll be completely hanged, so on. Okay, let me just close these pictures. Now we can just concentrate on our Dart code. So after this container, I'm going to create another container. Actually, you know what, we don't need the container. I can just use the image widget, right? So I can just use this image, and I'm going to have an image. So the image I'm going to get from the asset, so I'm going to say asset image, and I'm going to say go to the image folder and get the first Hangman. But later on, as I said, I will do it dynamically, not hard coding. And let's give him some width and height for this image. So I'm going to say width is going to be 155 and height is going to be 155. And the color, like I'll show you what happens when we don't have any color, but for now let's actually say fit. So this should fit in, so I'll say fit dot box width dot cover, because I gave some width and heights for this image, right? So let's actually have also some spacing between this points container and this image. So I'll use a sized box, an empty sized box with a height of 20 pixels. We'll have 20 pixels of spacing between that points container and this image. We'll run everything. There you go, I have a black image, but the problem is we can't differentiate between the image and the background color, right? So that's why I'm going to give a color for this whole image. So I'm going to say color is actually, yeah, just colors.white, just suits the black color really well. There you go, now I have the whole image in a white color. So after that image, I'll show the how many lives the user has, so the status of the current user. So I'm again going to say size the box, height 15 pixels. I'm going to just give the 15 pixels of spacing, and then I'm going to have again a text widget which says how many lives I have. For example, yeah, we at the beginning we'll have 7 lives, right? But depending on the status it will change. Again, later on we'll implement the logic stuff. And then I have a style. Again, I'm going to use the retro style function. You know what, let's just copy this and paste it over here. So we're going to give a font size of 18 pixels, should be quite good. And let's actually give a gray color, not a black color, so we can see the color on the black scaffold. Let's save everything, and we should have the text. There you go, 7 lives left in a retro theme font. So we created the upper part of the UI. Now let's actually create the down part of the UI. So after this text widget, I'll actually give lots of spacing because it should take lots of spacing. Sized box, let's say 30 pixels. And let's give a text widget. So the text widget takes in some, yeah, I'll just again hard code this, but later on we have to actually handle this in a function, but we'll come to it later on. And I'll say style is going to be a retro style, but the font size is going to be 35 pixels and the color is going to be colors.white. And let's also align everything in the center. So this question mark text is the actual word we have to guess, so that's why we have to actually also align it in the center when we have a big word. There you go. Now I have also the text. Now after creating the text also, let's actually create our custom keyboard. So I say sized box, height 20 pixels. And so we are going to have the alphabets in a grid view, right? Let me just save this and let's see our question mark text, like the actual text we have to guess. There you go, question mark, question mark, question mark. Later on we'll get the actual word to guess, and after this question mark, like after the word guess text, we have the actual keyboard where the user can press on the alphabets. So the alphabets we're going to have in a grid view, so we're going to again use a grid view count because I actually know how many items I have in a cross axis. So cross axis count, I'm going to say 7 pixels. I'm going to have 7 items in a cross axis, and again I'm going to say shrink wrap is true, and physics is never scrollable physics because we're already in a single shell scroll view. That's why I have to disable scrollability here because we already have it in a single shell scroll view. Let's also give the physics for this. So physics, I'm going to just give scroll physics. And after creating the shrink wrap and the physics, let's actually also give some padding. I'll show you to later on. Let's actually just render out the text. So the children of this grid view, not child aspect ratio, children is going to be list of items, and of course I don't want to have each and individual alphabet rendered out, so I don't want to write code for each and every alphabet. So of course I'm going to have a for loop which iterates through a list of alphabets and renders them out dynamically. So we can do it pretty much easily. Let's create in the utils.dart file, let's create a new list with all the letters from A to Z. So I'll just copy paste. So these are all the letters from A to Z. If you want, I'll just put this in a resources folder. You can also just take this and copy this and paste this in your utils.dart file. Now what I can do is I'm gonna call the map function which iterates through the list and renders out the actual UI. Let's it just renders out for each and individual alphabet, like each element in that list we can render out a new widget. So I'm going to say letters. So the letters list, I'm going to take it and I'm going to call the map function, and this actually gives us the alphabet. So I can just receive this as an alphabet. You can just call it also alpha or something like this. I'm going to just call it alphabet. And when we use the map function, we also have to call the .toList. We have to say .toList, or else we'll have an error. And here in the children, so which widget do we want to return? So we're going to return the text widget. So let's say return text. And actually, what is the text? So this alphabet actually, which is just the element in that list. And again, let's give some styling. So I'm going to call retro style function. I'm going to give a font size of 20 pixels and a color of colors.white. I'm going to give a font weight .w700. Now let me just save everything, but we can't save anything. We have to just close this over here with a semicolon. Now let's save everything and we should have the keyboard. Oh yeah, let's actually do a save all because we also have to save the utils.dart file. Nope, we have an error. Don't know what the error is. Okay, I accidentally imported this package. I don't want this package, of course. Now let's save everything and we should have our keyboard. There you go, we have our keyboard: A B C D E F G H I J K L M N P O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z. Okay, so after having all the alphabets, these are kind of weird, right? So first of all, I don't want that much of spacing. Second of all, I want some padding. So let's actually give a padding. So I'll say padding is edge insets dot only. From the left side, I'll just have some 10 pixels of padding. There you go. Now we have some kind of padding, but again, there's the problem. The problem is there are lots of spacing. So to reduce the spacing, we have to use the child aspect ratio. So we can give a ratio. So I'll just say 1.3 ratio. Let me just say everything, and there you go. Now we don't have that much of spacing. So again, there's a problem. When I click on this, nothing happens. So let's actually wrap this text widget into an inkwell so that I can implement some on tap actions. Let me just save this. But now the problem is when I click on this, wait, nothing happens. Actually, I just wanted to show you something. Let me just do a dummy on tap function. Let's just do a dummy thing. Print tapped. Let me just save everything, and what I want to show you is this text is not quite in the center. See, now when I press this, see, you see the inkwell, right? But the alphabet itself is at the top left, and for this example it's also the top left, and for this also. So to deal with this, we can actually wrap this inkwell, or actually this text, into a center so that we have the text in the center of this inkwell. Now when I save everything, not save as, sorry for that, save everything, so save all. Now you'll see the text in the center of the inkwell. Also everything is formatted perfectly. Now when I click on this, see, the alphabet itself is at the center of the inkwell. So now I have a neat UI response. That means when I click on the L, I will actually click on the L and not on the K. So yeah, that's it for the UI of the game screen. And later on, actually in the next sections, we're going to implement the logic stuff. So for example, we want to handle the text, we want to handle the images depending on the status, we want to handle the points, we want to add some sound effects, and also we want to have the actual on tap actions when you click on this keyboard. So after creating the UI of our game screen, let's actually implement the logic of this whole app. So let's actually first of all start with this text here. So we want to handle the text in a new function called handle text. So instead of just hard coding the text here, I'm going to have a function named handle text where I'm going to return the value. So I'm going to say handle text. In this function, we're going to handle the text. So we're going to execute some for loops and so on, because this should actually be handled. And in the handle text function, I'm going to first of all start with a display word. So the actual word which we're going to display. So this is going to be an empty string. And now we should actually have a word to guess, right? So actually let's implement this also. Let's create a function, actually not a function, a variable. So I'm going to say string word. So what is the word? We have to kind of have a list of different types of words. So for example, Flutter, programming, Python, and Google. So I'm going to just take this and paste it over here. So this is my words list. So you can actually just add any words you want. For example, like car and so on. You can just add any words you want. So this is just my words list. I can take this words list. So I want to have a random word from this words list, right? So I can say words list, and the index should be random. So the index should be random from 0 to, what's the length? So the length is 1 2 3 4 5, so 0 to 4. And how to use random? So we just have to import the maths module from Dart. So I'm going to say import Dart maths, and I can just use the random function. So I'm going to say random dot next int. So the integer, we're going to just say go to the words list and get the length of it. So it's going to just have a, so for example, now it's going to pick a random number from 0 till the words list dot length -1. So for example, it's gonna pick a random number from 0 to 4. And now when we have the actual word, we can iterate over, like we can iterate how many times the length of this word is. So for example, I'm going to say for int I is equal to 0, and I is going to run till the word dot length, and I is going to increase, because now I want to actually get the character. So I'm going to get each character of this word, and I'm going to check if it is included in the guessed words list. So I'm going to say string char or character. I'm going to say string char, go to the word string and get the actual index. For example, at the beginning it's going to be 0, so word 0 is going to be W, so this is W character. Because now I'm going to have a separate list named guessed words, like guessed alphabets, not words. Actually, these are all the guessed alphabets which I've actually guessed, right? So this is going to be an empty list at the beginning, and here I'm going to check. For example, I'm going to check here if the guessed words contains the character. For example, just give me a moment. Not guessed words, guessed alphabets dot contains the character which we got here as a variable, right? So if it contains the character, for example W, so if it contains W in the guessed alphabets list, then take the display word variable and add the actual character to the display word. For example, at the beginning, let's say our list, this is just an example, our list is filled with W, we guessed W, and we also guessed, give me a moment, for example, wait, this is actually a bad example. So for example, our word is Flutter, okay? Our word is Flutter, so our word variable is actually Flutter. So for example, we guessed F, we also guessed L. So we actually only guessed 2 letters. So it's going to iterate over that word dot length. For example, our word is Flutter, so it's going to iterate through that variable and char and word I. So at the first iteration, it's going to be 0, right? So it's going to get the first alphabet of this word. So this is actually F, and the character is going to be F. And if the guessed alphabet that contains the character, for example, the guessed alphabet, yes, it contains F. That means just add this F to this display word variable. And it goes further. For example, it's going to check for the second word L. Yes, this contains also. Then just add the character to this display word. Now it's going to again go to the U, but now it's going to check if the guessed alphabet contains character. So it doesn't contain U, right? So this guessed alphabets list doesn't contain the U. So now we're going to render the actual question mark. So I can just say else, add a question mark to the display word. So I'm going to do a augmented expression. So I'm going to say plus is equal to. So this actually just means display word plus something, So I'm going to just minimize it with plus is equal to the question mark. Let's also give some spacing. So just leave a space. So if the actual alphabet is not in the guessed alphabets list, then show the question mark. But if we already guessed the alphabets, then just show the character. And at last, of course, this text widget actually accepts something in the return, because we're calling a function here, right? So I'm gonna actually just say string. So if we can return a string, we have to return a string. So I'm gonna say here return the display word. And now when I save everything, let me just do a full restart. Actually, I will see only question marks. Let me also just clear this list and then do a full restart. Then only it makes sense, right? So yeah, it did a full restart, and as you can see, the word is actually car, but we have 3 question marks because the guessed alphabets list is actually empty. So we created the handle text function. So we finished with that. Now what we're going to do is whenever we click on this text, we want to do something. So let's implement that one. So let's actually create a function named check alphabet after this handle text function. So I'm going to say check letter or check alphabet, check letter. I'm going to just call it check letter, and it's going to have as a parameter the actual alphabet which I have clicked on, so that I know on which alphabet I clicked on currently. Instead of saying print tabs, I can just call the check letter function. So check letter, and I can just pass in this alphabet here. Okay, perfect. In the check letter function, now we're going to check, for example, if, so when we click on this, for example, we click on A, we're going to check if the actual word, for example, it is car, if the word contains the alphabet which we clicked on, that means yes, we guessed the correct word. Then what we're going to do is we're going to actually add the alphabet to the guessed words. So guessed alphabets list. I don't know why I'm calling this guessed words. This should actually be guessed alphabets list dot add the actual alphabet I clicked on. Then automatically this handle text function will actually have some changes. For example, when I click on this A, for example, when I click on this A and car contains A, right? Then I'll add this guessed alphabets. I'll add this A to the guessed alphabets list. Then we have this function which is running every time, like this is just running, right? Then it will check, okay, yeah, the guessed alphabet, yes, it contains A. Then this display word is actually gonna show an A instead of a question mark, and for the C and R is obviously gonna show a question mark because we only have the A and the guessed alphabets list. Let me just save everything and check that out. When I click on this A, actually this should change, but it doesn't change because we are never updating this state. But for example, when I just do a hot reload, it will change because I did the hot reload, and there's a problem. Oh yeah, let's actually leave some spacing. So instead of say I just say char plus some spacing. Yeah, now I have some spacing. The problem was we had actually never set in the state. So let's call a set state function. And I'm going to take this guessed alphabets and put this over here. So whenever the word contains the alphabet, then set state and add the alphabet to the guessed alphabets list. And now we can actually, it's a good moment to actually also implement the points. So I can say int points. So at the beginning it's going to be 0, but whenever we guess something correctly, that means yes, we guessed one word correctly, then we're going to increase the points. So I'm going to say points plus equals to 5. So we're going to increase it by 5 every time. Okay, this is for the points. And now the other thing is what happens if we, like if the word doesn't contain the alphabet, it means we guessed the wrong alphabet. So else if, but we have to check for two things. We can't say just else because at one time the status can be 6 and another time the status can be null. So we have to have actually we have to control the status. For example, let's say we have only one life left and we guessed it wrong. That means we lost the game. Let's say I have 3 lives left and I clicked on the wrong alphabet. Nothing happens, like we don't lose the game exactly, right? We just lose 1 life. So to handle that, I'm going to actually have a new function, like not function, we're going to have a new variable named life is 0. So at the beginning it's going to be 0. Let's actually say status and not life. So status is going to be 0. So whenever the status, so else if the status is not equal to 6. So if it's not equal to 6, that means we still have lives left. So we didn't lose the game, we still have lives left, but we just guessed the wrong alphabet. So I can again set the state of status should be increased by 1 value every time, and also the points should decrease by 5 values. But what happens if the status is equal to 6? That means we lost also the game. So if the status is equal to 6, that means we lost the game. Then we have to print, or later on we show a dialog. So for now I'll just print out you lost. So if the status is, it just like if the status becomes 6, then we lost the game, and later on we show a dialog. For now I just print out you lost. But if the status is not 6 and we guess the wrong alphabet, yes, then we'll increase the status and also we'll decrease the points. But if we guess it correctly, we'll just increase the points and add the alphabet to the guessed alphabets list. So okay, let's just test this out. Let me just do a full restart. So okay, I did a full restart and I have still this word car, and now when I click on the C, you'll see the question mark has changed to C because I added the C to the guessed alphabets list, and it was just checking if it contains. Then we just added the C to the display word variable. For example, when I click on this E, nothing happens. Actually the status has increased by 1 value and also the points. So let's actually have a control of the points. So instead of saying 12 points, I'll do a string interpolation here. So I'll have a variable in that string. I can just say points variable and then the actual string points. For example, now we have 0 points, but when I click on this E, there you go, -5 because I guessed it wrong, and then I have -5 points. So I'll decrease it by 5, and when I click on this A, there you go, I increased again by 5. And at last, when I click on the R, there you go, now I have 5 points because I've guessed 3 times correctly but 1 time wrong, and also we guessed the whole word. So we have a control of when we lose. Let's actually test that out. Let's actually intentionally lose the game because I just want to test it out if it really works. Okay, let's just do some random Z. So I'll just do Z every time because at some time we have to lose because the status, there you go, the status was 6 and we lost because the status was 6 and we didn't also guess anything correctly. There you go, 30 points. That means the status was 6 because 6 into 5 is 30. That means yes, the lost functionality is working. Now let's implement the one functionality. For example, if I guess the correct word, like if I guessed everything correctly, then I of course want to show I want to show a dialog you won, but let me just print for now. I'll just print you won. So I'm going to just do it after this. So I'm going to actually copy some stuff. I'm going to copy this for loop. I need this for loop because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to create up here, I'm going to create a boolean variable named is1. It's going to be true. So default value is going to be true. Then I'm going to get the character. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to again have a if check. So I got the character from the word, but now I'm going to say if the guessed alphabets list doesn't contain this character, then we will set state. We'll set the state, and I'm going to change the is1 variable to be false, and I'm going to just break out of this loop. So I'm going to do a break. So what is this if statement actually doing? For example, the is1 variable is true, right? Wait, let me just do another if statement. So here, if then is1 is actually true. If is1, that means it is true, then actually we won. So if it is false, we didn't win, but if it's true, we won. And it will be false when we didn't guess everything correctly. Okay, let's take an example. For example, we guessed C and R, but we didn't guess A, so we didn't quite win the match. For example, the word is car and we guessed C and R. So C and R in the guessed alphabets list. And then we're checking here. we're at the second iteration. The second iteration, it's A, right? So the in the car word, second word is A, right? So if the guessed alphabets list doesn't contain the A, that means, so it doesn't contain the A, then our is1 variable will be false, and we broke out of this for loop and we never reached this if statement, because this is only checking if the is1 variable is true, but A is not in the list. That means the is1 variable will be false. So this is how we check if we won or not. For example, if we clicked on CAR, if CAR in the guessed alphabets list, then we're checking if guessed alphabets or contains car. Like if it doesn't contain, so it actually contains C A and R. It never sets the is1 variable to false. That means yes, we'll reach this statement if the is1 variable will be true. Then we can just print 1 and we can actually show a dialog, you won the match. So yeah, that's it for the handling, like for check letter and handle text. In the next sections, we'll actually handle this images and also the lives. So okay, we are checking if we did everything correctly. So we have a function named check letter. There we're checking if we won or not, if we lost the match, or if we actually did the correct guess. Then we're increasing the points, we're adding it to a guessed alphabets list, then we can have a full status. But the problem now is, like, not a problem, we have to just fix something. So what we have to fix is the images here and also the lives here. For example, here this word and this keyboard is actually working perfectly. Let's just see Google. So I kind of thought it was Google. So G, when I clicked on G, the question mark turned into G, then O L E. Then I should actually print one. No, I actually never printed one. Let me just save everything. Yeah, I'm just testing out if the full functionality is working. So I'll just do a full restart and check it out. I just want to see if the is1 functionality is also working. So I tested it out for the you lost, but I just want to see if it's also working with you won. So for example, let me just guess the word. I think, yeah, it should be Flutter. Now when I click on R, I should actually have a print statement. You won. Yeah, there you go, won. Okay, that means this is also working. Now let's actually implement these images here. That is pretty much easy. I just have a list of images. So I have Hangman images from 0 to 6. So I have 7 images from 0 to 6. I'm gonna just take those and I'm gonna just put it as string. So images, in the images folder, go to hangman0.png, images hangman1.png, and so on. And that's why I created this variable status. Now I can get the current index of the whole status. So I can go to the image where I rendered out the image. So instead of saying hangman0.png, what I can do is I can just say go to the images list. So go to the images list, and the index is going to be whichever, depending on the status. For example, if our status is equal to 1, so if we just increase the value here, then the status will be 1. Then we'll show this image. If our status is 2, we'll show this image, and so on. Okay, so this is how we work with the images dynamically. So I can just here say for the index, I can just say status. Let's do a full save, and our status is 0. Let's again do a full restart and see if our images are also working. So for example, let's guess the word. For example, I think it's Google. There you go. I had a wrong guess. Then this image actually just changed to the hangman. So his head is hanged. Again, a false guess. His body is there, his hands, and then at last we should actually see the full hangman. So this is the full hangman, and yeah, this is just at one point we'll just lose the match and we have to show a dialogue. Let's actually also implement for the lives. So how many lives are left? and we can actually pretty much calculate it very easily. Instead of saying 7 lives left, what we can do is I can take how many lives do I have. So I have 7 lives, right? So I can do a string interpolation. I can just say 7 minus how many, like how, what is the status. So for example, I have 7 lives and I can just say minus the status. For example, if status is 0, then 7 minus 0 is 7. If status is 3, 7 minus 3, then we have only 4 lives left. This is how we calculate the lives. For example, now we have only 1 life left and actually we just lost the whole match. Yeah, that's it for the lives. Actually, we also implemented text, the keyboard, and the points. And we're also actually printing when we won the match, and also when we lost the match. So this is also finished. Now we have to implement the actual dialogues. For example, when I lost the match, I want to show a dialogue, you lost, and you can also play again. And when you won, of course, I want to show a dialogue named you won, and again show a dialogue. And I can just press on the play again button. And at last, we're also going to implement the sound effects. So okay guys, so we're just printing out you lost when you lost the match, right? But instead of saying you lost, I actually want to show a dialogue which says you lost the match and you can play again. So we're gonna execute a function named open dialog, which just opens up the dialog. So I can just use this open dialog function, but we have to create that function. So let's create this function up here, and this open dialog function actually takes in a text like a title. So I'll set string title, and we have to pass in the title. So for example, here when we lose the match, I can say you lost, and here I can actually design my dialogue. So for the dialogue, it's pretty much easy. We have to actually return a show dialogue in Flutter. Working with dialogues is pretty much straightforward. We have to say return show dialogue, and we have to pass in the current context of this app, and in the builder we can actually render out our whole dialogue. So for the builder, I'll just give a context, and I'm going to return actually a container. So in the builder itself, I'm going to say return the actual dialogue widget, and the child of the dialogue widget is going to be a container, because now I can give some purple color, the width, the height, and the actual content of this whole dialogue. So child is going to be a container. Let's give a width for this container. So for this dialogue, so this container is actually a dialogue now. So I'm going to say take the whole width and divide it by 2, and let's give a height for this whole dialogue. So I'll say 180 pixels. Let's also give a decoration for this dialogue. So let's decorate this whole dialogue with the color. So I'm going to say box decoration. Then I'm going to give a color, and I'm going to say colors dot purple accent. And then in the container itself, I'm going to give the actual child of the container, and child of the container is going to be a column, because I'll have elements beneath each other. So I have the title, then I have the points. I showed how many points the user has, then a play again button where the user can click on play again. So I'm going to say children, but let me actually give a main axis alignment. So this column should be aligned at the center in the main axis. I'm going to say main axis alignment dot center, and I'm going to now give a text widget. So a text widget, I can just use a title, right? Whichever title I guess as a parameter, and then I can give a style. I'll use a retro style function again. Okay, 25 pixels, and the color is going to be colors.white, and the font weight is going to be font weight.bold. And let's actually also align this whole text. So text align is going to be text align.center. And then after the text, I'm going to give some spacing, so of 5 pixels. So I'm going to say size box is height 5, and then now I'm going to show the points of the users. So again, I'm going to say text, I'm going to say your points, and I'm going to do a string interpolation, because I'm going to have a variable in a strings, and I'm going to do a dollar symbol. Then I'm going to put in the points variable, and the style is actually just a retro style function, but the font size should be kind of small, so I'll just say 20 pixels should be good. And let's also give some text alignment. So I'm going to say text align is text align dot center. Let me just a full format. So yeah, now everything is formatted perfectly. So we have the title, we have the your points, then at last we should actually have the button play again. So let's give a container, because now I have to give a width for the button, but I'll just say margin. So I say from the top, I'm gonna just take 20 pixels of spacing from the top, and the width is, take the whole width and divide it by 2. So just take half of the width, and then give it a child. So a child of this will be a text button. So back then we would actually use the raised button, but for now this raised button is actually deprecated and we have to use this text button widget. And on press for now will do nothing, later on we'll implement it. And a child of this gonna be in the center, a play again text, child text, play again. And instead of play again, I have to say play it again. And let's actually give some styling for this text widget. So I'm going to say style, the retro style function. Where is it? This one. I'm going to say retro style, 20 pixels of font size, and the color is going to be colors.black, and the font weight is going to be font weight.bold. And also let's align it in the center. And we don't actually need to align it in the center because this actually is in the center, so it's just waste of code. So we're actually pretty much finished with dialogue. So we created a dialogue, then we had the header, then we had the points, and then at last we have the play again button. So this is just the UI of the dialogue. Now let's go and implement the logic for this dialogue. So the logic of the play again button is pretty much simple, right? So when we click on the play again button, we want to restart everything. So when I restart the points, I want to restart the status, I want to restart the lives, and also restart the text. I want to have again a random text. So on press, when you click on this, first of all, let's pop out the dialog. So I want to actually pop out the dialog. So I'm going to just dismiss the dialog. And now I'm going to set the state because I want to have some UI updates to set state. First of all, our status variable will be 0. And our guest words list is going to be cleared out. I'm going to clear out the guest alphabets list, not guest words list. It's going to be guest alphabets list. I want to just clear it out. So I'm going to just delete every element in that list. And our current points is going to be 0. And also the word, we're going to generate again a random word. So I'm going to just take this and put it over here. So we're going to again generate a random word for that one. And there's something to be done actually. So when I click on this, I have to pop out the dialog, then set the state for play again. Yeah, this should actually be good. So let's actually test out this dialog, right? So again, I'm also, when do we want to call this dialog? We also want to call this dialog when we win the match. So instead of saying print 1, I actually want to call a dialog and say hooray, you won. Let me just do a full restart. Here we have a new text, the new lives. But for now we don't have to do, like in the now we have the dialog, right? So we don't have to do full restarts because we can click on the play again button. So let's actually, pretty much easy, it's car. When I click on the R, I should actually have a dialog. Stay, there you go, hooray, you won your points 15. Now I can click on the play again button. Okay, let's actually also give a color later on for this button because user doesn't know if it's a button or not. So play again. But again, there's a problem, right? So we can actually pop out the dialog also when we click on this area here, then the user can never restart the app. This is a bad UI practice. So now he can never restart the app because he forgot to click on the play again button. So how to handle that one? It's pretty much easy. We just have to have a barrier dismissal here for the dialog. You just have to say barrier dismissible is going to be false. So he can never dismiss the dialog when we press this on the other area. So he has to press on the play again button. So we kind of programmatically have to pop out the dialog. So let's try it out. So again, the word is car. There you go, play again. When I see, I can never pop out this dialog when I click on this ATRs because I said period dismissible is false. But when I click on the play again, there you go, everything has been restarted, and I still have this word because yeah, the list is actually kind of really small. That's why we don't have that much of words. But when we have a really big list of words, then everything will be kind of random. For now, we just have only 4 words, right? That's why it's kind of the same every time. And this is also for a dialog. As you saw, it was pretty much straightforward, right? We just said restart everything and have a period dismissible also to false. So that's it for the dialog. And now let's actually go and implement the sound effects. Okay, so we are nearly finished with this project. We just have to implement the sound effects. For example, when I click on this word, when everything is correct, then I want to have a correct.mp3 file. Then when it's wrong, I want to show a wrong sound effects. So the sound effect I downloaded from this website, sapslat.com. I just wanted to give some credit for this website. So I downloaded the sound effects here. You can just download any sound effects you want. You can just search for the sound effects here and click on the mp3 button. It's pretty much free. You just have to have an account with your email. So it's also pretty much easy to make it. And now we can use our audio player package. So I have to create an audio instance. So whenever playing local assets files in the audio players package, we have to use this audio cache here. So I have to say audio cache data type, and then after audio cache, let's create an audio cache. And now we have to give a prefix. So the prefix is going to be sounds. So because I have every sound in the sounds folder, so the default prefix is assets, but I don't have any assets folder. So but my prefix is actually just sounds. Is it sound or sounds? Yeah, it's sounds. This is perfect. This is for the audio cache. And now what I can do is I can create a new function named play sound. So I'll pretty much do it at the beginning because later on I have to call that function. So I'm going to say play sound, and it's going to be an async function. So it takes in as a parameter the actual sound it has to play, like the local asset sound. And this is an async function because it could take some time to actually play the sound, maybe like nanoseconds, but still is an async function. And now I can just await the audio cache. So I'm going to say await audio cache dot play, and we have to pass in the file name. So the file name is just sound. For example, if I pass, see in the sounds folder I have, for example, correct.mp3. When I pass correct.mp3, the prefix is sounds, so it's going to go to sounds folder, then it's going to search for correct.mp3 file, and it's going to play that file. So when do I want to actually play that sound? So whenever we click on the points, like when the word contains the alphabets, then that means we successfully guessed the correct word. Then I'm going to say play sound the correct.mp3. And if we lost, like not lost, actually this is just wrong guess, then I'm going to have wrong.mp3. like if we lost and the status is 6, and if we don't have any lives left, then I want to actually play the sound with lost.mp3. so I have it here. Yeah, it's lost.mp3, and you later on see the sound effects. They're pretty much retro theme. So I downloaded some retro theme sounds in his website, and if we want, I'm gonna show the one.mp3. so this is how you do, like if this is how you call local audios in Flutter. You just download the audio players package, and you can just create an audio cache instance here and with a prefix, and you can just call the dot play function with the actual sound you have to play. And also I'll have a restart sound. So whenever I restart everything, I'm gonna actually also call a restart sound. So play sound, I'm gonna say restart.mp3. So let's actually test this out. Let's actually do a full restart and check out if we are actually playing our sounds. So what I will do is I have the full audio. I hope you can hear this. I don't know if you can hear this through the mic, but for you it should actually work. So when I click on this B, there you go, I have a wrong sound effect. I click on this L, there you go, I have a correct this, then I have the correct.mp3 file. So I think, yeah, the word should be Flutter, no, Flutter, Python, Google. Yeah, the word should be Google. There you go, Google. There you go. Now at the last, when I won, I have that one.mp3. Oh, I forgot to actually implement the play again button. Like, I forgot to give a white color, right? So in a text button, let's actually do it pretty much easily. Now we just have to say style. I have to say text button dot style from. I have to give a background color of background color start white. There you go. But if I actually again open up the dialog, I'll have the actual UI update. For now, we can't see the UI update. And click on play again. There you go. I have a restart of the mp3. So I have a restart mp3 also. So yeah, this is where it should be programming. This should be kind of easy. So I'll actually minimize the sound. Yeah, you can still hear the sound, but it's pretty much a bit silent. And I want to just check out if everything is working perfectly with the app. There you go. Now I have to play again button with the also with the white background color. When I click on this, there you go. Again, I have to restart the mp3 file. Let's say the user doesn't want to hear that sounds. If we want to play the game without any sounds, so here we can implement this. So we'll have a boolean variable named sound on, and the default is going to be true. So default, he will have sounds, but he can just disable it. So in the app bar, we have to go to the app bar. So on pressed. So for the icon, what I can say is, wait a minute. Okay, what I can say is, if the sound on variable is actually true, then show this icons dot volume up sharp. But if it is actually false, then show the icons dot volume off. There you go, this off sharp. And when is this sound on false? Like, it's kind of never false, right? Yet it is false when we click on this button. So we have to implement this here. So on pressed, just do the opposite of the sound on variable. So sound on is equal to the opposite of the current sound on variable. For example, if it is true, then it will become false. If it is false, it will become true. So this should work. Click on save all. Now you'll see when I click on these buttons, they will have an update. No, they don't. Okay, I am not saying set state because we have to actually update our whole state. But now when I do a hot reload, see, I have that volume off because I did a hot reload. But now I'll show you without doing a hot reload. So now when I click on this, there you go, I have a UI update change because I called it set state. See, now it's toggling up. It's volume off, volume on. But now how to implement this with the sounds is also pretty much easy. So let's go to the play sound function. So only play the sound if the sound on variable is true. So if sound on, that means if true, then only play the sound. So if the sound on variable is false, then it will never pass in this, like, it will never go into this if statement. It will never play that sound. Or I can test it out if you want. See, for example, now the sound on variable is false. I'll just do full volume. And when I click on the C, see, I don't have any sounds. As you can see, I have no sounds. But let me actually just minimize the sound because this is too loud. And now when I have the sound on, and now when I do something, see, there you go, I have the sound. I hope you heard it. Let me just do a bit more up here. There you go. Now you can hear the sounds. See, that means all the sounds are working. Okay, and that's actually the end of the section because we actually implemented everything. So we implemented the points, we implemented the title, we implemented the retro design, simply implemented the text, the lives, and also at last the sounds. So I hope you enjoyed this section. I hope you also learned something. So yeah, that's it for this section. Let me just see you in the next sections.